Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. It is the 24th of October today and we're going to do this very important video on Bitcoin. Although we are going to cover several charts, we're not just going to look at this Bitcoin chart here on Bitstamp. We are going to look at the Bitcoin futures chart. We're going to look at Ethereum. We're going to look at the Bitcoin ProShares ETF. And I also want to throw in some macro as well. I want to look at the TLT chart, looking at treasuries, as well as the NASDAQ, and because there's some very useful information there also. And I like to piece it all together, bringing in the macros as well as the technical analysis. So we will be touching on all bases there. Now, why are we doing this video today? Because we are at 35K. It's a very, very key level indeed. I'll be going into that in detail. But if we just come back to my YouTube channel here, you can see my last video, I spoke about 35K being the target. So I thought it's about time we did a new video because this was 3 months ago now, but we finally reached that point. Whilst I'm on this page, I will just mention that I've recently uploaded a 5-video series covering pitchforks. It's an in-depth tutorial on pitchforks in a very similar way to the Elliott Wave tutorial that I did that proved to be very popular. I've kind of set out in the same kind of approach to do this very comprehensive pitchfork tutorial, and I'm sure you'll find value in it. I've certainly put a lot of emphasis into pitchforks and Elliott Wave with my analysis, having used many different tools in the past. I find them to be very powerful, especially in combination. Okay, so with that said, let's just talk a little bit about Bitcoin now. Before we go into the TA, obviously it's hard not to mention it, the kind of macro backdrop that we have. Obviously there's catalysts that could really change the play of things, especially in the stock markets right now. Obviously we've got the conflict in the Middle East, which hopefully we will find some kind of peace agreement over there. But when you've got US warships, Chinese warships, you know, the possibility of escalation in World War III you'd be foolish to ignore it. I'm hoping, because now we have the hindsight of 2 previous world wars, we've got the nuclear deterrent. I'm hoping there will be a common sense approach and nothing stupid will come of it. But we've always got to be mindful. So of course, you know, we could completely capitulate, or alternatively a peace agreement could be found and we could absolutely go flying to the upside across all the markets. Okay, we're literally at that point. Okay, so that's a very key point right there, and obviously the coming weeks will give us a better idea as to what's going to occur in the long term. On top of that, for Bitcoin in particular, we've got the ETF talks. That's for the spot Bitcoin ETF. We already have a Bitcoin futures ETF in ProShares, which we'll come to in a moment. But obviously that's only, there's more and more talks on that, as well as the halving for Bitcoin, which is only about 6 months away. It's predicted to be around April 2024. So not too far away. So that's all going to add to a bit of a tailwind for Bitcoin, pushing it up. And we are starting to see that come into play now. So let's just focus now on the TA. So in the last video I did have a slightly different wave count to the upside. This has been updated since we've had new data coming in. This has to be considered as impulsive. There's no other way to look at it now. That I see it as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The wave 4 is an expanded flat going into final leg of this initial impulse, wave 5 here, and then we've got a very nice sideways move which looks like a regular flat ABC, so a continuation pattern, and now we're about to continue the trend to the upside. Now 35K, although being a very key level of resistance, I just can't see it being the high right here. I don't see us getting rejected just yet. At least that is my bias. Reason being just simple cause and effect. The fact that this cause has been so prolonged, gone on for a good duration here, for that to just culminate in this small impulse to the upside, it just doesn't add up. I'd expect a much more greater effect to the upside, and then hopefully we can overcome this very key 35K level, which could then turn into support. Okay, so that's just a little bit of Elliott Wave right there. I've got the major pitchfork here that I'm currently using to follow in terms of targets and profit taking levels. It's an original pitchfork. First, second and third pivots, always use the log scale with the pitchforks. That's my preference in particular. So we've just hugged the lower median line, and still we're not yet hit our median line. So still upside to come as far as I'm concerned. Now let's recap. Why is 35K important? So there's a few bits of horizontal level confluence at this point. Okay, so first of all, very obvious overhead resistance that hasn't been tapped yet. You can see these highs here didn't quite reach into this very key bit of overhead resistance, but now, as you can see, we have tapped into that point. So that's just one thing. Okay, the next important thing is this quarterly level. Yeah, you can see I've labeled this quarterly. The other horizontal lines, we've got a weekly, monthly, and a yearly level. All very important levels. But this one in particular that we currently sit at 35k gives the confluence with overhead resistance. And so to see that, you just go on your 3-monthly chart, and we can just appreciate where our quarterly level is. You can see it's this range here. So basically, you've got your red downtrending candles, and then you've got this green block here, essentially acting as an order block. So I've marked out the top of it and the bottom. The reason I've not put a Q for the top here is because it's actually more, it has even greater impact. It's actually a yearly level. If you go on the yearly chart, you'll see this horizontal level here is actually a yearly level, hence the Y labeling on the right side. So very, very important level there at 46k. Of course, we're nowhere near that point just yet, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but we currently sit at this horizontal level, very key level, 35k. So it's a quarterly level, it's overhead resistance, but more importantly is what I've been discussing about on camera pivots. So if I can just pull up this tweet, which you can see from April 17th, it's essentially just covering my camera pivot analysis over on the weekly time frame. So these are camera pivots on the weekly time frame, and you can see just going back how key the support and resistance has been using these camera pivots. And it was essentially the reason why 35k, which came in at this point here, as you can see the price label, it's the R4 for this year of 2023, that was the point of resistance. The R3 was also an arguable level of resistance, which was an initial target. We managed to absolutely power through it, and so the next level of resistance to test would have been the R4. So that was a target for me within this year. We have now reached it. Now the question is, are we going to get rejected at it, or are we going to push through and use it as support? Ultimately, come the year end, we want to know, are we above or beneath it? Okay, so finishing above suggests that we're going to be in a very, very strong uptrend. We might absolutely obliterate it to the upside. It's certainly possible. Alternatively, if we struggle to push through this R4 come the end of the year, so basically finishing beneath the R4 or 35k come the end of the year, then there is a concern that we could end up rolling over. Okay, so back to the chart, coming back to our daily time frame. So these are the reasons that 35k was a key level. Now, as I say, because of the tailwind that we have with the halving with regards to the Bitcoin spot ETFs on the near horizon, hopefully, all of that said, as well as the impulse and the correction just behind us, and also the 200-week simple moving average, which if we pull up the weekly and pull on our simple moving averages, it's this black line here is our 200-week simple moving average, a key important factor for support here, support here, support here. We did lose it, and now we have reclaimed it. We're back above it. It's a high time frame indicator bias, and we are now powerfully above it, having just recently woven above and beneath it for quite some time. We're now firmly above it. Okay, so all of these things, bringing it all together, I have to say my bias is that we are going to push through 35k. It might just kind of gravitate around this point, just consolidate a little bit before pushing through. But considering the kind of movement that we've seen in this so far, it could push through it pretty quick. So ultimately, I do not think that we are going to get rejected at this point. Okay, I think 35k is going to get flipped. We may consolidate a little bit, but regardless, I think we push through. I think there's a good chance of a retest, even if we do push through, especially if we shoot into this median line. Once we hit this median line, there's a very likely opportunity for a little bit of a pullback. Could come as far as the 35k, in which case, suggesting that was a corrective move using pitchforks and the Elliott wave, then that'll be a great opportunity to look to further buy in. So this is the way I'm looking at it. But as I say, ultimately, my bias is bullish for the reasons that I've just mentioned. Now, we've got a few levels above here. We've got a weekly level, which I'm not too worried about, 36k. There's 39k here, which is a monthly level, and there's the yearly level that we spoke about earlier at 46k. So these are levels of resistance that we have to just be mindful of. But ultimately, if we are to get through 35k, my original kind of analysis was telling me that we're very likely to test all-time highs if we push through 35k, which I think is very likely to happen now. So obviously keep in mind there's overhead resistance to overcome. Yeah, we've got these very important levels to overcome, but I think they're going to be temporary hurdles rather than major resistance. I want to pull on this big fib retracement. It's always worth knowing where our 0.618 fib retracement is. Pretty much in line with this monthly level around 39k. So let's be mindful of 39k. It's also where our median line is likely to hit price action. Okay, so 39k, we could get a bit of a confluence, our median line, horizontal level of the 0.618 fib retracement, and also this key monthly level. So for now, 35k, I'm not too sure it's going to be such a barrier or resistance level, okay, because of the background that we have here. Massive consolidation that looks like it just wants to burst higher. So that's that. So yeah, initial short-term target, 39k is a key level that I'm looking at. May get a little bit of a pullback at that point, maybe even to 35k. That would look quite reasonable. But ultimately, I think with the way things are playing out, there's a good shout for all-time highs to now get tested. Of course, conflict in the Middle East could completely change all of that. But the way things are looking, as I say, the way things are shaping up, I've got a feeling that we are going to see further bullish price action. And certainly we could see that across on stocks and maybe even the bond market. Yeah, I wanted to throw out the bond market. Of course, we've been in a massive bear market on bonds. But before we go into that, so this is the Bitcoin chart. Let's just quickly look at Ethereum. Ethereum's starting to move also. So here on Ethereum, we've got our major pitchfork that's just holding the price action to the upside. But more importantly, we've finished this correct. Well, can't say it's finished. We've got a three-wave move down correction that looks like it's finished, where we ranged here between the median line and low median line. We're now pushed through the median line, which suggests that the three-wave move down is finished. You would want to see us push through the upper median line to confirm it, but I think looking at the bigger picture, looking at other assets, in particular Bitcoin, we can get a feel for there's a very good chance that we now take out that high before taking out this low. Okay, so Ethereum also looking very strong. Again, also on the back of a bit of an impulse, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 move, which is all looking good. On top of that, I said the other charts that we're going to cover, we've got, okay, Bitcoin dominance. Okay, because of this Bitcoin dominance trending very nicely here, we are very close to our median line. In fact, let's go on the daily. I think on the daily it shows us right at the median line of this pitchfork. Now, obviously, the median line can often act as a little bit of resistance, which basically means that altcoins will have an opportunity to pop. Hence, the thumbnail of this video about alt season is coming. Overall, I think crypto is going to be is looking very strong on the whole, but the fact that Bitcoin is just coming into possibly a bit of resistance with this median line here on Bitcoin dominance, I think that's going to allow altcoins to really start to pop. And already, as I say, today we've seen Ethereum make some good moves, as I've just mentioned. So that's that. And then we've got the ProShares Bitcoin ETF. So here it looks a little bit messy. Basically, we've got 3 pitchforks and a fib level essentially. So I know it's a little bit messy. Ultimately, the larger pitchfork, you can see it's broken now to the upside. This week or last week, I think it was, we broke the upper warning line. This very important large pitchfork upper warning line has been broken to the upside. Very, very bullish sign. On top of that, this pitchfork can be taken away. So we've got this corrective pitchfork, modified shift, lower median line being hit. And now, of course, a true breakout is getting above this upper median line. But I think we can anticipate a 3-wave move down into the 50% fib. So from low to high, we've hit the 50% fib. 3-wave move down completed on the back of an impulse to the upside. Yes, we can wait for a true breakout, but I think the way things are looking, we can anticipate that breakout coming pretty soon. So that's the ProShares ETF, looking very bullish indeed. And then Bitcoin futures, very similar picture. The only reason I want to show you this chart is, again, to show you how the main pitchfork to the downside has now been broken. It's a very valuable pitchfork. First, second, third pivots, lower warning line tagged several times, and now, as you can see, after consolidating beneath the upper warning line, it's broke, consolidated once more before now powering higher. So that's everything I want to cover on crypto for now. But as I said, there's more towards the macro side that I want to discuss. So looking at US indices, again, they're going to be massively affected by obviously inflation. Any inflationary data is going to have a massive impact, but also the conflict in the Middle East. Now, so we are seeing here, so it's worth zooming out on the weekly, to be honest, to look at the major pitchfork. So this major pitchfork is the post-financial crisis pitchfork. So this pitchfork has pretty much held the price action pretty nicely since the financial crisis 2008. So we've got a first, second, and third pivots on the log scale. It's a shift pitchfork. Yes, a few blips here, and also this comes down pretty much as far as these blips came down, and we've managed to just stay back within the pitchfork, as you can see, just about coming back into this lower warning line. But more importantly, we are now testing the lower time frame pitchfork, lower warning line. So we've got this smaller pitchfork here, just monitoring this trend to the upside. I must say that whilst going up in this trend, this pullback has all looked corrective. Okay, so we've got a corrective move into the lower warning line of two pitchforks. We've got the intermediate pitchfork here, and then we've got our major pitchfork lower warning line all the way here. So the confluence would have been here, but as you can see, we're just about above these points. And then the smaller pitchfork, which you probably need to go down to daily time frame to appreciate, is this first, second, third pivot shift pitchfork. We've hit, well, just shy of our lower median line. I was thinking we were going to hit it a bit more precisely. Doesn't have to happen. Of course, we've got earnings coming out, very important earnings. So there's Google today after market hours, and then on top of that, I think Amazon's tomorrow. Facebook's tomorrow, and then day after that is Amazon. Apple is on 2nd of November, I believe. So it's going to be a very key. What day is it now? So a week or 10 days, very key for these markets, how they're going to play out. You're probably not going to get the massive volatility until all those earnings have come out. So yeah, certainly could dip down a little bit more before it starts powering higher. Of course, I don't think that's going to interrupt crypto's move to the upside. But yes, as I say, we could be starting to see stocks find a bit of support also. Of course, if we lose this major pitchfork, you know, if the lower warning line is lost again and we take out these lows, then we're done for. We're going to see capitulation over on stocks, and that would correlate with probably escalation in the Middle East, which hopefully we're going to avoid. And I'm still of the opinion that we will avoid escalation, but time will tell. Yeah, I'm not a politician. I don't want to go into too much detail on that. So that's the NASDAQ. But the most important chart probably to cover now that I don't see other people covering is the bond market. The bond market, of course, has been absolutely horrendous. It's been collapsing since March 2020. So basically when COVID came about. Okay, absolutely capitulated. Okay. So weekly chart, as you can see, this is your bond market. We're pretty much at the bottom of the history of this chart. Of course, no doubt it goes back further, but just looking at what we have here on TradingView, we're really at very low levels. But what I want to point out is that we have potentially a completed Elliott wave count to the downside in a WXYXZ. And on top of that, you can see we're massively oversold. Yeah, we're hitting this lower warning line not once, but twice. Yeah, and we've got a little bit of a what I call a terminal overshoot. If you check out my pitchfork tutorials, I'll go into that in a lot more detail. But you got to see that the upside is much greater than the downside. Of course, we could keep rolling down just at a steady pace. Yeah, but I've got a feeling we're going to get at least an oversold bounce. I think we're going to come up to this median line very soon. Who knows? We could just start flying higher in bond market, but I don't think that's likely, but at least an oversold bounce back into your median line. Okay, now that is going to be a very positive impact upon stock markets. Okay, and for general investor sentiment carrying across into all asset classes and into crypto also. So it's going to act as a further tailwind for crypto. So this is why I wanted to put it out there. Okay, we are in a very bearish market. And it's been going on for a very, very long time. You know, we've gone on for over 3 years now. But today could be the day we may have bottomed out. Okay, yeah, it's not a call I'm going to make, but it's certainly very, very plausible is what I want to say. I'm not going to call it just yet. We see it time and time again. We get a terminal overshoot that comes a bit lower, or we come down for a bit longer, just gravitating next to the lower warning line. So I'm not going to say it's happening this day. Absolutely. I mean, it's a 3-year move. I'm not going to try and call it to the millisecond, but what I'm saying is everyone should have this on their radar. We could be starting to find a recovery in the bond market very, very soon. So with all of that said, I'm still got that bullish bias overall on Bitcoin. I still think things are looking good. Yes, we are at a key level of resistance, 35k, but I'm of the opinion that we could end up pretty soon flipping that into a level of support rather than resistance. For the reasons that I've mentioned, lots and lots of tailwind, impulse, correction, 200-week simple moving average, cause and effect. So much to mention. Macros, you know, you've got your ETF talk, you've got your halving talk. So all of these things culminates in what I can only see as bullish bias right now. And that just carries across into several charts, looking at our ProShares ETF, looking into our Bitcoin futures chart, looking at altcoins. I gave an Ethereum example, an example on Ethereum, but altcoins overall are looking very bullish. I can't go into that in this video in detail. For more detailed weekly analysis, of course, I have Cryptology, which I run on a weekly basis, and you can see a discount link for that in the description of this video. But yeah, overall, as I say, things are looking good. So we'll wait and see how things play out, guys. I'll hopefully keep you updated. Do check out my Twitter as well. I put updates there when I don't always get time to make a video. So keep an eye out for that also. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up with that one. Take care. Thank you for your attention in watching through to the end of this video. Now, I know there's a lot of you watching that would like to learn how to confidently trade the financial markets independently, and I also know how confusing this can be regardless of how many stressful hours that you put in. For that reason, I've put together all of my trading knowledge in a complete course titled The Works. The Works consists of thorough and jargon-free lessons broken down into a comprehensive curriculum, providing you with a holistic understanding of the markets and giving you an accelerated journey to being able to analyze and trade the markets all by yourself. And for those of you that are looking for my weekly detailed video analysis on crypto and stocks, then there's Cryptology, which is a subscription that will also give you access to the Works while subscribed. For more information on what's included in the Works or Cryptology, you can head on over to wave618.com, or alternatively use the links in the description to this video for a limited time 50% discount offer. So I hope to see you on the other side, but in the meantime, if you would like to sample some of my educational videos, then you can check out these videos that you can see on your screen right now. Thanks once again, and until next time, take care.